2, 3, 4. I feel thanks. I feel thanks. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude. I feel thanks, yeah. I feel thanks. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude. I feel joy. Ready? I feel joy. I feel joy. I feel joy, and I show it through my attitude. Yes, I do now. I feel joy. I feel joy. I feel joy, and I show it through my attitude. I feel great. I feel great. I feel great. I show it through my attitude. I feel great. I feel great. I feel great. And I show it through my attitude. I feel strong. I feel strong. I feel strong, and I show it through my attitude. I feel strong. I feel strong. I feel strong, and I show it through my attitude. Take it up another notch. I feel alive. I feel alive. I feel alive. I show it through my attitude. I feel alive. Yes, I do now. I feel alive. I feel alive, and I show it through my attitude. Break it down. I feel thanks. I feel thanks. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude. I feel thanks. I feel thanks. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude. One more time. I feel thanks, and I show it through my attitude.
Thank you. Thank you, Sky. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Good morning, and welcome to the Center for Spiritual Living, Santa Rosa. I'm Jan Peterson, and I'm the Vice President of the board here, on the board here, and I'm so glad to be here with you. Yeah, New Year's Day. If you're coming for the first time, welcome, or first time in a long time. We've seen quite a few of those people. Welcome back. And please know that your children are welcome here in the sanctuary, or if you're more comfortable, there's a family room in the back. We also have some coloring pages out in the social hall, and there's coloring pages, crayons, and books for your family to enjoy. And I noticed that the bulletin board is cleared now, so there's room for the more art. Yeah. And also, I'm not sure if she's here yet today, but we're starting the youth program again, which is great. And we hired someone called Jennifer. Her name is Jennifer Caldwell, and I think she's available to chat sometime today. Also, you can send an email to youth@cslsr.org and learn more about the upcoming youth ministry. And I want to thank the live stream viewers. There's probably a lot of them out there today. We know you're there, and we see the numbers every week. And I also want to say to you that if you're watching this and love watching this service, to please push the share button, because that's what gets this message out to the world. Okay, if you'd like more information about what's happening in our center, you can visit our website at cslsr.org, and you just scroll down. There's someone typing on an old-fashioned typewriter, and the bulletin's there. The bulletin is also, there's a lot of copies out in the information table, so you can grab a paper copy today. All right. And if you're new or not so new and wondering what we're all about, please pick up a What We Believe pamphlet on our information table. And it's meaty. It's about 15 pages long. And there's also, you can go to the website and get that. At the Center for Spiritual Living Santa Rosa, we are motivated by the global vision, and it calls us to imagine a world that works for everyone. And here's a portion of it. We see a world in which each and every person lives in alignment with their highest spiritual principle, emphasizing unity with God or living spirit and connection with each other. A world in which individually and collectively we are called to a higher state of consciousness and action. We follow this vision through the 4 primary values of the center, and there we are. If you could read them with me, please. Spiritual living, integrity, love, and compassion. I know that somewhere between the music, meditation, prayer, and message is exactly what you need for the next step of your spiritual unfoldment. You are welcome here. Now, please enjoy some music before a short time of silent contemplation and prayer.
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I don't know where we're going, but I trust this. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I don't know where we're going, but I trust this. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I don't know where we're going, but I trust this. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Don't know where we're going, but I trust this. Yes, I'm gonna say yes. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest. Abundantly, I know that we will manifest.
One source, one power. The presence divine is right here, fully abiding in this moment. That turns and moves as this new day, as this brand new year, is the source of all. It embraces all of creation. It infills all of creation, and it unfolds anew, moment by moment, breath by breath. I recognize that one presence as the very source of my being, the very life of my life. It is in, through, as all that I am. And I know it as the truth of each one here, each one hearing this word. That one presence is that has given birth to us. It is that is unfolding anew right now. And it is that expresses in this morning's service. In every word, every song, in every encounter. It is that holds, supports, sustains all that we are. And in this knowing, I know that we are blessed. And in gratitude for this knowing, I simply let go. I let this be. And so it is. Amen. Good morning. Happy New Year. I ask that you please join me. I am Ruth Barnhart, a minister at this center. I'll throw that in. As we read this morning's affirmation, I'm a living embodiment of the divine intelligence. Do we not have that? Oh, wow, we have something totally different. Let's read the affirmation together then. I am present with what is. I open to possibilities, and so it is.
Good morning. 1, 2, 3, 4. One power, one power, one power. There's one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, yet you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth. It's as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angel's wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, don't you see? It's the power of the love. You and me, one power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, different clothing, different colors, different names. But difference only dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. We'll remember when we close our eyes to see such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, Hashem, or heaven's door. It's Muhammad, it's your mind, it's your soul, it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth, or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, don't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air you breathe. It's the power of the love. You and me, one power, one power, one power, one power, one power, one power. It's a moment of creation. It's the everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the spirit of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunlight on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. The boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby. The serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon when it's love that is most deep. It's one power. It's one power. One power. One power. It's the power of the love. You and me. It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power.
Let's give some more love to Sky and Nick and Brett, our power trio today. Thank you, thank you. Well, clearly there were some fabulous New Year's parties last night. I've been joking with my friends that I get to give the hangover talk today, so don't worry, it'll be fine. It'll be great. And Happy New Year's. Welcome, welcome, welcome to 2023. Yeah, I know, right? Dr. Edward sends his love. He's on some wonderful vacation time himself, along with our Christopher Fritchie is on some vacation, some much needed vacation. They'll be back with us next week. And we get to kick off our entire new global theme for 2023, and that's called Living Out Loud. And what that phrase invites us to do is to live fully in the world, and that's going to be the overarching theme for all of 2023. And we also have our monthly themes, and our monthly theme for January is called Root and Reboot. And I love this theme because it's calling us to find our way back to our spiritual center, to those basic principles that lead us throughout our lives if we just let them. And I can't think of a better way to talk about rooting and rebooting than New Year's resolutions. Oh, I heard lots of hmms. Now, I love the concept of the New Year's resolution because it reminds me of Fawkes the Phoenix from Harry Potter and how at the end of his life he would burst into flames to be born fresh and new, capable of great things in the world. But doesn't it sometimes feel like we just do the bursting in the flames part with our resolutions? That's how it feels for me. And I thought about this a little bit more, and I thought, well, let's look up some of the stats around New Year's resolutions, because believe it or not, there's statistics on this. And one of them is that around 40% of Americans make a New Year's resolution every year. It's a lot of people. That's millions and millions of people. Now, a slightly more depressing statistic is only about 9% of Americans feel like they are successful with their resolution. Yet, the majority of those who set one feel like they'll be successful right at the beginning when they start. So we go into it thinking, I'm going to be successful, and then something happens. Another fun stat is those aged 18 to 35 are much more likely to make a New Year's resolution, while those who are over 55 are a little bit less likely. Made me scratch my head a little bit and wonder. And then this one, most people, statistically speaking, will give up their goals by around January 19th. So mark your calendars if you've got one. No. Today we're going to talk about how we can actually move forward with that, not just with New Year's resolutions, but with our goals in general. Because I decided to make some resolutions for myself for 2023. There are some things that I'd like to do a little bit differently. I made some of the similar resolutions that a lot of people make. I want to eat healthier. I want to be more physically active. And I want to succeed. And I want to see if we can use our new thought principles to help me to succeed. Before I could do that, though, after I wrote out my goals, I had to ask myself, well, I wonder why I don't always follow through with these. And I had to get pretty honest. And I noticed that sometimes my goals weren't grounded in my own inherent wholeness. Oftentimes, they weren't grounded in reality. So there's the rooting aspect we'll talk about. And then I noticed that sometimes even when I do feel like I'm grounded, that I would run into resistance and the resistance would win. And then I would stop. And I wouldn't be approaching that goal anymore. And that's where I recognize that sometimes that resistance needs to be healed, and hence we get to the reboot side. And I noticed that both of these, the rooting and the rebooting, are necessary for us to find success with our goals, with our resolutions, and they both begin with consciousness. For example, when I found my way into ministry after a long career in information technology, I really noticed that I had to root into my own knowledge of my own spiritual worth, my own spiritual wholeness. Because if I didn't, then I would find myself floundering and things would feel harder. And I also noticed, too, that as I stepped into this completely new paradigm of a career, of my work, of my calling, that, boy, oh boy, I ran into so much resistance within my consciousness. Sometimes I felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall that I had put up myself. And oftentimes that brick wall looked like my defenses. Ooh, that was not fun. So why is it that rooting and rebooting works when we approach our goals? Well, that's where we get to our talk title for today, which is called God is a Concept. And those of you who are John Lennon fans will hear a little familiarity there with John Lennon's song called God, where he talks about this different way, this different idea of what God can be. What we talk about in our teaching in the science of mind is that there is not some God that's outside of ourselves. It's not some wizard up in the sky who's passing judgment and giving gifts and boons, sometimes mercurially. No, that's not what we talk about. We talk about God's Spirit being this active, universal principle of life, ever the more making itself known in its whole. Ernest Holmes says in The Science of Mind, when he first describes his idea of what God is, he says, the study of science of mind is a study of first cause, spirit, mind, or that invisible essence, that ultimate stuff and intelligence from which everything comes, the power back of creation, the thing itself. And then he goes on to say a little bit later in that chapter, this is the simple meaning of true metaphysical teaching, the study of life and the nature of the law, governed and directed by thought, always conscious that we live in a spiritual universe, that God is in, through, around, and for us. There is nothing supernatural about the study of life from the metaphysical viewpoint. That which today seems to us supernatural, after it is thoroughly understood, will be found spontaneously natural. So in Ernest's rather wordy way, what he's talking about here is that consciousness is at the core of everything. That it's the thought that comes first, and then we see the effects in the world. And we can do a little experiment to prove this for ourselves. We can take an effect that we see in the world, like perhaps these flowers here before me are an effect that I see in the world, and we can trace it back, looking at, well, I wonder what caused that, and then following all of these causes back until we get to an idea. And in this case, perhaps it was the idea of the florist who said, well, this would be a pretty arrangement. It starts with a thought. And we can go back even further to the gardeners who thought, well, it would be lovely to plant these flowers. And so it is. That's how we find our way back to first cause. This singular idea that led to our very universe. In short, our teaching tells us that if we can just change our thinking, then we can change our lives. And if I take it a little bit further, in fact, we have to change our thinking first before we can actually experience that change in our life. And this is one of the reasons why I've noticed that my goals can flounder sometimes, that I didn't adequately change my own thinking in a way that fully aligned with the goal that I wanted to achieve. I was putting the cart before the horse. And one really cool aspect of our teaching is that because this divine consciousness is all that there is, and we are part of it, that means that we're already whole. There isn't anything that we have to get outside of ourselves. And for me, that tells me that whenever I'm setting my goals, I have to ask myself whether or not I've rooted that goal in my own wholeness. Is it coming from my wholeness? Is it coming from the expression of my wholeness? Or maybe is it coming from the fears of my ego? And it's a good question to ask. And so that brings us to this idea of what it means to root in spirit, to root in our wholeness. Because when we do that, we approach our goals for the right reasons. We're rooted in a place of our own self-worth. When I do that, I'm not trying to get something that's going to make me whole, but rather I'm allowing my inherent wholeness to express itself in the world. Now, how can we find out if we're coming from our wholeness? So that's a question I have to ask myself a lot, and the answer is curiosity. I love curiosity because it leads me to ask questions like, why do I want to accomplish this goal? And then I ask that question again, why? And then I keep on asking it until I find myself at the root answer for me. And sometimes that root answer is, yeah, this is coming from an expression of my wholeness. This is an expression of who I am. Sometimes, though, it might reveal to me that, oh, well, I'm actually, this may be coming from a bit of a fearful place, and that's why I want to do this. And so maybe that's not coming from my wholeness. Maybe it's coming because I'm trying to plug a hole in my life and my experience. So when I answer that question for myself, I can see if that answer is resonating with my wholeness. I can check in with my feelings. Does it feel good? Does this answer feel good to me? Or do I feel fear when I get to that answer? Does it feel like this goal is going to lead me to expand in life? Or does it feel like it's actually making me contract because I'm trying to fill in some gap? So once I've connected with that goal and I've found that, yes, this is rooted in my wholeness, I'm doing this for the right reasons, what I find is that, wow, it gives my goal and the actions I take toward fulfilling that goal so much more energy. It makes it so much easier to move past any challenges that come up. It actually makes the goal feel much more achievable. The good news is, in a community like ours, we can use our spiritual practices to remind us of our inherent wholeness. Because ultimately, that's what our spiritual practices do in the science of mind. They remind us of the truth that we are one with this thing that is larger than us, this thing that knows no bounds. We can do that through our prayer, through our affirmations, our meditation, our journaling, our visioning. And another great spiritual practice, by the way, is this community. Because this place is a place where we accept everybody exactly as they are. I remember once in one of our videos, Reverend Tara said, "I love this place because I can show up exactly the way that I am, in my gym clothes and everything." When we do this together, it makes it a lot easier to help each other, to help one another recognize our inherent wholeness. And because at least for me, I tend to forget my wholeness from time to time, it's nice to have others who are around who can remind me of that wholeness. And this is one of the reasons why we've got so many amazing in-person events that are planned for 2023, such as our upcoming Vegan Snack and Chat. That's going to be happening a little bit later in January, and you'll hear about that from Jan during the announcement segment. We decided that we had been doing a few too many baked goods and cookies and things like that. So this seems slightly healthier, which seems in, the whole New Year's resolution thing. So it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to it. We've got so many more events that are coming up. We're going to have one every month. And we do these events because they remind us why we love each other so much. They remind us why it's so wonderful to be here in community, because when we come together, we get a glimpse of that wholeness expressing and expanding as all of us together. They remind us that our wholeness didn't actually go anywhere. We might have forgotten about it, but it didn't go anywhere. It's always been right here in the relationships that we have with each other, with this community. And so that's the rooting side. When we get to the slightly more challenging side, the rebooting side. Specifically, rebooting so that we can let go of our resistance. Now, I see quite a lot of resistance when I look out at the world. I'm not talking about the kind of courageous resistance that the citizens of Ukraine are employing against Russia's continuing war of aggression. I'm not talking about the resistance from the women in Iran who are fighting for their fundamental right to express and be free from harm and oppression. What I see is what I'd call a fear-based resistance that is perhaps one of the reasons why we're still figuring out this thing called climate change, because all the countries of the world sort of expect the other countries to do the hard stuff first before they're willing to participate. I see the resistance of authoritarian regimes that seek to control their people at all costs, often through violence and oppression. This is a resistance to the diversity of life itself that comes from a simple fear of the unknown, a simple fear of the other. And when I turn my gaze within, I sometimes see that resistance within me. Sometimes, despite being firmly rooted in my own wholeness, I nevertheless fall short of my goals. And staying curious, I have to ask myself, why is that? And the answer is often because I've run into some form of resistance, some fear of the unknown within my own consciousness. might show up as an old story telling me that I'm not any good, so why would I even bother trying? Or maybe it comes up as a memory of this time when I got an F on a big project, and so that tells me that I can't do anything long term. Sometimes it shows up in my dating life. Oh boy, that's fun. This fear-based resistance works in our consciousness kind of similar to the way that programs run on our computer. Now, you may know this if you use computers. If you keep on using that computer and you keep on opening programs willy-nilly without really working to manage them and the resources that they take, all of a sudden that computer can become pretty sluggish. Sometimes it gets buggy and it does really weird things. Sometimes it crashes altogether. And sometimes we might find that there is a single program that we used to love using, but now it's eating up all of the resources on this computer and it's causing all sorts of problems. And if you call tech support, as we often do when we run into these challenges, well, the first thing that they're probably going to ask you to do is, have you tried rebooting your computer? Now, yes, they are reading from a script, but that script was designed that way for a reason. Because rebooting closes out all that stuff that's been open, that's leeching all those resources, doesn't it? And it lets you start fresh. Rebooting, when we look at it as something we can do with our consciousness, it lessens or outright removes the resistance that we ourselves have created. It allows us to let go of the old programs that, while they might have been working for us, they might have been doing something for us for a time, now they might be holding us back from reaching those goals, from fulfilling those New Year's resolutions. And I found that I often have to reboot my consciousness in order to release my own resistance to doing what needs to be done to complete my goals. And so how do I do this? Because we don't really just have a button that says boop and we reboot, do we? It's a little bit more work that goes into it. Well, the first thing that I like to do is I'll take the time and I might journal this out and make an inventory. Make an inventory of every form of resistance that's showing up for me around my goal. It might be, I just want to watch Netflix today. It might be, I just want to play video games. It might be, I just want to go hiking. It might be, I just want to do this, or that. All of these things that distract me from actually working on that goal. And list them all out so that I can start to get a lay of the land. And once I've found that resistance, I can then name it. Sometimes those resistances show up as something called "you're not good enough." Sometimes for me, it's the critic, which I'm sure we can all have our own inner critics. And sometimes the critic likes to put on robes to make itself more important, and it becomes the judge. For me, one of my resistances that often comes up is the watcher of too much TV. So when I do this, I find that I can actually start to have a conversation with my resistance to learn more about its motivations and why it's doing what it's doing for me. And I do this because, remember, we want to do this sort of an exercise in a rooted way, in a way where we're rooted in our own inherent wholeness, that we already know we're whole, and this is how we approach our resistance. Because when we do that, we're able to have a loving conversation. Because what happens when you resist your resistance? You get more resistance. That one's pretty easy. These conversations for me are really helpful because I find that the resistance is really just trying to help in its own weird, funky kind of way. And when I approach them in a way where I just want to understand to be in loving relationship with them rather than seeing an adversary before me. I'm able to work with my resistance to find a healthy way for it to contribute in my life and to actually work toward fulfilling my goals. I'm creating an ally rather than adversary. And so the programs are still running, but what I've done then is I've rebooted in a way where on that reboot, those programs can install some updates. Who knew? And those updates can allow them to work more effectively. And I learned that maybe I don't need to run this program all the time because maybe it takes up a lot of energy that really isn't helping. And the really cool aspect of this kind of a practice is that the more I do it, the more my real authentic self starts to shine through too. Because rather than being buried behind those old ways of being, those old resistances, I've created a pathway where that divine self can shine through. And it's so much easier to work toward our goals when we're coming from that. And so rather than just tell you about this, I thought it would be fun for us to give it a shot. So if it feels comfortable, go ahead and close your eyes and take a deep breath. Let it out with a sigh. And allow to form in your mind, in whatever way best suits you, one way that you know you often resist life that gets in the way of you accomplishing your goals. And when you have it in mind, simply ask it, what's your name? And once you have a name, you can ask it a very important question. How are you trying to help me? Remembering that curiosity is what's leading this conversation. I invite you again to take another deep breath. And breathe out with another sigh. When you feel ready, go ahead and open your eyes. Now, this is just a taste of what we can do here, because certainly those conversations can be much richer than we're able to do with the amount of time that we have today. But this is a practice that I've been doing for a few years now that's really helped me to better accomplish my goals, and it's also helped me to grow more deeply in my own personal experience of the divine. It's helped me to kind of gently and lovingly retrain the resisting parts of my mind so that they can work with me instead of against me. And it's helped me to better root in my own inherent wholeness, because the more these resisting parts are able to loosen their grasp, the more that divine self is able to shine through, which is awesome. So if you'd like to practice this some more with me, we're actually going to do a deeper dive at our Wednesday evening service this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Right out there in the social hall. So I look forward to seeing you at that if you want to learn some more about your resistance. Or not. I know, I'm not selling that really well, am I? We are all invited to root and to reboot in 2023, using this idea that God is a concept and that within it that we are already whole to be the source from which all of our actions to fulfill these resolutions blossom from. And this is what I truly think is going to lead to the changes in the world that I think we all want to see. Those big changes that need to happen for humanity, not just to survive, but for it to thrive. We do still have problems like poverty and homelessness and climate change and oppression, but not because we're not smart enough to solve them. I do believe we are smart enough to solve these problems. I think they don't get solved, those, because we often need to be reminded that we have to solve these problems from a place of wholeness rather than a place of lack and fear. And that when we do let that wholeness in and let it to help us to heal our resistance, that's when the magic happens. That's when we see the changes that we've been asking for so long. And that's when we find our way just a little bit closer to a world that works for all. And so let's take that into prayer, shall we? How good it is to be in the wholeness, to express the wholeness, to witness the wholeness, to allow that wholeness to simply be. I know that wholeness is here now, that I am one with it, just as each and every beautiful person here in this room and on our live stream, those who could not make it today, we are all one with this infinite wholeness. We are one with this infinite good. And so knowing this, it's easy for me to declare that our wholeness is at hand and that any of our goals for 2023, I know that those goals rooted in wholeness, they must succeed because that is the power of this divine good. There is nothing beyond its reach. There is nothing that can limit it. I know that the power of this wholeness, this unconditional love at the core of each and every being, that is the driving force that heals any resistance, that allows us to move forward powerfully and brilliantly and lovingly and compassionately to share our goals and our good with the world. And so knowing this, there is nothing more for me to say other than that I am grateful for this. I am grateful for this wholeness. And I release this word into the action of the law that has already said, yes, my beloveds, yes. And together we say, and so it is. Thank you all. All right, well, now is the time of our service where we enter into our ritual of offering. And before we go into the ritual, I just want to remind you that we've got a number of ways that you can give financially if that's how you choose to give. I'm waiting for the first slide here. We have our wonderful text to give, where you can send a text message with the dollar amount that you'd like to give to that phone number. And if it's your first time, it'll help you to set it up. I use that myself. It makes it super easy for me to give. You can also give online on our website at cslsr.org/donate. You can mail us a check to our address. We have an auto giving option, which you can talk to Linda Han after the service at the information desk if you want to find out how to do that. Or if you're watching online, you can send her an email and she will help you to get that set up. And we are now passing the baskets again, which is fabulous. So I'm going to invite our ushers to stand as we do our offering ritual. And so I invite you to call to mind the gifts that you give, whether it's the gift of your presence, the gift of your volunteering, or the gift of your finances, and allow the joy in your heart, the wholeness in your heart, to be that which sends it forth. And allow it to expand out and to fill this room. And then repeat after me, I bless this gift. I send it forth to heal and prosper. It does wonderful things in the world. And so it is. Ushers, please receive the gift.
1, 2, 1, 2. Think for yourself. Do what you love. Think for yourself. Do what you love. If you can simply see what matters, then love will lead you there. You love the things you've always done. You love those things you've always done. If you can simply see your history, then love will lead you there. Love will lead, oh, love will lead. Love will lead you there. Your vision of tomorrow matters. Your vision of tomorrow matters. If everyone can see the picture, then love will lead us there. Love will lead, oh, love will lead. Love will lead us there. The world is changing. We see it around us. Things we took for granted, not there anymore. But it's changing in us too, inside. You and I are a part of that change as we find more compassion and love in the world and in our hearts. But you and I don't have to worry about leading the way because love is always showing the way forward. Oh, there's water on the windows, it's cleaning off the view. Solutions everywhere. I say love will lead, oh, love will lead. Love will lead us there. Yeah, love will lead, oh, love will lead. Love will lead us there.
Thank you, Sky, and thank you so much for your gifts. Your gifts are why we are able to be here. It helps to support and keep the lights on, as they say. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. Now it is time to hear from Jan what's going on at our center, because there's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on, yeah. All right. As Russ mentioned, we have our vegan snack and chat. That's going to be on January 22nd. So let's join our community's vegan culinary. Oh, sorry. We have a fabulous in-person event coming January 22nd, starting over. Join us for our vegan snack and chat, where you can bring where you can share in our community's vegan culinary creations. Bring your own vegan dish and also bring your kids. There's going to be some activities for your children. You can RSVP, so we kind of have an idea of how many people are coming by clicking on the bowl of the picture of the bowl of the fruits and veggies. As we continue to open up and hold classes, workshops, and events at the center, we are looking for volunteers to help with setup and breakdown. If this calls to you and you're able to lift tables and chairs, please reach out to William Abel directly or sign up the information table there. And speaking of those classes, we have many new classes around the corner. The first is a book study, and the full title of the book is The Four Pivots: Reimagining Justice, Reimagining Ourselves. Sounds inviting. Practitioner Krista McAtee, along with Lawrence Edwards and Bonnie Gonzalez, will facilitate a discussion about this book on Saturday mornings in January. This will be via Zoom starting on Saturday, January 7th at 10 a.m. In this book study, you will learn how to shift your awareness and to recognize the wholeness inherent in yourself and the world. And next, we have one of our core classes. It's called Spiritual Principles and Practices, and that's starting Tuesday, January 10th at 6 p.m., and that'll be taught by Lawrence Edwards, once again. This class counts toward the practitioner track requirements, and it's a wonderful way to dive deep into the spiritual practices we teach at the center, like meditation and prayer. This class is going to be offered in person here at the center. And Joyce DeFala is starting her class, lots of classes, Visioning a Way of Life on Zoom. This is starting January 17th. That's at 6 p.m. And what she says, have you ever wondered how to tap into your inner wisdom and what it must be like to live your life directed by that wisdom? If so, this class is for you. You can sign up for all these classes on our website by clicking on the education calendar on the home page. Now, I have a couple of announcements about the annual convention. Our movement's annual convention is starting here in Santa Rosa in February. It's a hybrid event with some in-person and some online content. It's a 3-day program. If you would like to purchase a virtual pass to have access to all the online content from the comfort of your home, there's a 20-person group discount pack, and I did that. It's a deep discount. You can stop by the information table or contact Linda Han if you're interested, and the deadline is coming up. It's January 4th at noon. Also, keep in mind, if you'd like to attend Dr. Edwards' final message as a spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living, you're invited to come to our center. This is on Tuesday, February 21st at 9:30 a.m. at no charge. So that's part of the conference, but everyone's invited to come for free. Indeed, Dr. Edward would love to have the support of our local audience for that message. Details on how to RSVP for this free message, which includes music by Karen Drucker and Gary Lynn Floyd, will be found by clicking on the Vista Heart on our website. Just a reminder, he's going to continue to be senior minister here. This is about retiring from the center's spiritual direction. Okay, Reverend Russ would like to see you at the Wednesday evening service this week. He'll be talking about how we can lovingly connect with the different parts of our mind, even the ones we think that are nuts. That's a good one. This connection can help us to find new ways of achieving our goals for the new year. And that's in the social hall at 7 p.m. this Wednesday. And finally, we are so grateful to Michael Seymour. To date, we've raised over $10,000 by selling his art. Yeah, I know. Michael's art will be on sale through the end of today only, so be sure to check them out as you leave the sanctuary. Also, if you purchase some of the art, please be sure to pick it up before January 4th, because they'll be hanging the next artist's work. You can pick them up after service today, tomorrow between 10 and 2, or Tuesday between 10 and 2. And now let's hear from practitioner Kathy Galvin about her upcoming class. And thank you for being here.
Good morning. I'm Kathy Galvin, prayer practitioner and spiritual coach here at the center. I'm teaching a couple of classes on the Enneagram in February. They're both the same class, so you only sign up for one, and they go for 5 weeks. So what's the Enneagram? It's pictured as a 9-pointed star, and each of the 9 points represents a set of behaviors and beliefs that run your life. They're all about what we think we need for survival and satisfaction. You may have heard of the Enneagram as a personality system. I promise you it's much older and much more profound than that. It describes how we connect with God, self, and others, or don't. I found in studying the Enneagram for the last 30 years or so that I got some really good benefits from it. One of them was in decision making. I'm a thinker. I think things through, I come to a logical conclusion, and sometimes they're crazy. So I learned from watching other types of people to check in with my gut. Why is there a knot in my stomach if this is the logical thing to do? And to check in with my emotions. Why do I feel sad if this is the right thing to do? It has improved my decision-making exponentially. Another benefit I got from it was in self-image. I'm a real outgoing type, let's be charitable. I always thought of myself as sort of a loose cannon. But what I came to appreciate is that I have a lot of creativity and energy and fun to bring to the party. Lastly, and most importantly, by studying the Enneagram and really looking at how other people function, it was a shortcut to patience and compassion and connection. So all these things worked out well for me. I hope you'll join me and find out what they can do for you. The thing that's different about the way we learned the Enneagram here is that it's from a spiritual purpose. And that was the original purpose anyway, how to connect with God, self, and others. Classes are on Thursday and Saturday. If you would like to sign up, go to our website, to the homepage, or come and see me in the social hall, and I'll answer any questions you might have. Happy New Year y feliz año nuevo.
Thank you so much for that, Kathy. That's going to be a great class, so I hope you sign up for it. And if you are able, please go ahead and stand, and we will close out our service. All right, so repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life. Life is in my mind, life is in my body, life is in my affairs. I think it, I feel it, and I accept it, just the way that it is, and just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Please know with me that you are never alone, that Spirit is right where you are, that you have only to look within at any moment to know that you're guided, sustained, and empowered by a presence that expresses itself as you in this world. In deepest gratitude, let us live our lives accordingly so that in everything we do, say, and think, we honor this divine presence within. And so it is. If you're looking for after-service prayer, I forgot to mention it beforehand. It is currently still in Wagoner Hall in person, and you can also catch it on Zoom. Next week, we are going to do in-person prayer right here in the sanctuary. And so you'll hear more about that after service next week, but just want to let you all know. So have a wonderful week. You're all amazing. And Sky, take it away.
May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. And may I be happy. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease.